This is a presentation about the second chapter, Teaching and the Change Wars, the Professionalism Hypothesis. This chapter by Linda Darling-Hammond discussed a few theories of change and the need to rethink school goals and redesign school organizations. In this chapter, the author discussed 4 theories of change: a bureaucratic approach, a professional approach, a marketing approach, and a democratic approach. The bureaucratic approach is a traditional 20th century approach that seeks solutions that can be centralized and hierarchically administered. The decisions are passed down through the hierarchy and translated into rules and procedures for teachers to follow. The basic assumption of the approach is that solutions to educational problems always lie in more precise regulation of educational or management processes. Under this assumption, students are sufficiently standardized. There is sufficient knowledge as prescribed treatment to be translated into standardized rules. These rules can be operationalized, and faithful implementation of these rules can create desired outcome. If the outcome are not satisfactory, it is because of the prescriptions are not sufficiently detailed or the process of implementation is not sufficiently exact. In this approach, teachers are considered to be implementers, not planners. So teachers do not need to be highly knowledgeable about learning, teaching, or curriculum because they do not make the decisions. Although some routine aspects can be more efficient through standardization, the author argues that we have pushed the bureaucratic model of educational improvement as far as they can go, but it still does not go far enough. There are a few reasons behind this argument. So first of all, students are not standardized. Students cannot be treated as routines and cannot all fit into the molds based on the prescription. In addition, this approach overlooks the special local conditions, especially the school-by-school differences. Moreover, the bureaucratic approach decreases teachers' abilities to adapt instructions to students' needs and reduces schools' accountability. More importantly, this approach is at odds with innovation and student learning. A professional approach is a knowledge-based and client-oriented approach that seeks to invest in knowledgeable practitioners who can make sound decisions about how to shape education to the specific clients they have. The basic assumption is that since work is too complex to be prescribed from afar, it must be structured so that practitioners can make responsible decisions, both individually and collectively. Under this approach, practitioners are able to make autonomous decisions, and evaluation is based on effectiveness rather than compliance. The theory behind the approach is that professional control will improve the quality of services. The aim of the approach is to improve practice and enhance accountability by creating means for ensuring that practitioners will be competent and committed. The professional approach believes that practitioners are accountable to their colleagues as well as to parents and students for using profession-wide knowledge to meet the needs of students and for continually improving their practice. Therefore, under this approach, investments in teaching knowledge and skills, including teacher preparation, selection, and evaluation, can impact teachers, schools, districts, states, and nationwide. The author promotes a mechanism for the change of the school organizations and systems so that productive innovation is leveraged and public schools are kept responsive to the publics they serve. The market approach looks to school choice and competition as drivers for educational reform. It is supposed to improve schools and make them more accountable by promoting the competition among schools because customers can choose. Additionally, the differences in the chosen market should review where the problems are, and the problems can be treated accordingly. The market approach is able to provide feedback to schools and policymakers, and offers choices for informed customers. However, not all schools of choice are successful. Private schools are not necessarily performing better than public schools, and in addition, choosing alone is not enough to ensure full client accountability. Treating education as private good can also widen the margins on quality of education. Moreover, this approach can be costly and further creates barriers on choices. The author believes that school choice may guarantee strong outreach and equitable access, but additional strategies are needed to develop a supply of strong and responsive schools in all communities. A democratic approach seeks to involve students, parents, community members, and teachers in developing schools that are responsible to students' needs and interests, as well as to distinctive visions of education. Under this approach, stakeholders work together to design and implement new models of schools. The basic assumption is that decisions about the uses of school resources made by faculty, principals, and parents will better address community needs and local problems. Under the democratic approach, decision making is based on consensus, and choice is incorporated for the purpose of innovation and distinctiveness of school mission rather than competition. In addition, the traditional decision making comes from top down, which creates challenges for accountability due to the multi layer of hierarchy and implementation. Also, when decision making is far removed from parents and practitioners and is regulatory in nature, changes come slowly. The democratic approach, on the other hand, rooted in community interest, can alleviate these problems. Good decisions are made depending on the availability of solid professional knowledge and strong moral commitments within the school. Evidence has shown that investment in teachers' knowledge and expertise makes a difference for students' learning, and that skilled teachers' efforts can be even more effective in the context of democratically organized schools. The author proposes an effective and productive change that combines a professional agenda with a democratic decision making process. Research found that investments in the quality of teachers secure greater improvements in achievements than any other use of a marginal education dollar. And having highly skilled teachers can help overcome the societal inequality that are generally reinforced by schools. Based on a few successful models worldwide and in the US, the author proposes investments in teaching learning because school reforms depends on highly skilled teachers working in tandem with families. Therefore, policymakers must invest in strong initial teacher preparation and ongoing professional development, condition of the teaching career, including salaries, teaching conditions, and learning opportunities, and also coaching programs. In addition, systems of support should be created for high quality teaching and learning, and participation of local communities should be supported.
Hi, this is Janelle, and my problem of practice focuses on student retention and online orientation. Central Community College, or CCC, is facing a decline in traditional age students and is focusing recruitment and retention efforts on the 30 to 6-year-old population who traditionally seek online courses. According to CCC's Institutional Research Department, students who attempt online courses at Central Community College are 10% less likely to successfully complete the course compared to their face-to-face peers. As Central Community College's online course offerings continue to increase, we must address this in order to retain students and increase enrollment because of student success. My proposed innovation is to create an online student orientation that focuses on student services and is hosted on the College Learning Management System, Moodle, which is like Blackboard. So students learn how to use Moodle while learning about student services. While this chapter focused on instruction, there are still ties to my problem of practice. Due to the nature of my problem of practice and innovation, and my role as the Dean of Enrollment Management, this change is very bureaucratic. The goal of the online orientation is to create a centralized solution to improve student success. This is an initiative created from the top down and will tiptoe into a somewhat democratic approach by bringing in key members from multiple areas to create the content and outcome for the online orientation, with the final content and course to be approved by administration. There will be one standardized online orientation for all students, not just online students. By utilizing the bureaucratic approach to deliver an online orientation to all students, each student will receive the same standardized message and information. This model deviates from the current face-to-face orientation. In the face-to-face orientation, key topics are identified and each campus represents the content differently. So some students get in-depth knowledge and others just surface level information. In the online orientation, each student will need to complete assessments before the modules are completed. Additionally, students will be able to return to the course at a later date to review content as it becomes relevant in their success. We will also be able to track if students return to the course and what they reviewed and during what part of the semester. This will be a critical part of the action research process, which will allow us to be more responsive to students and their needs. This structured bureaucratic approach allows Central Community College to assess student learning in the orientation and outcomes of students who completed the orientation. This will allow CCC to complete multiple cycles of action research to refine the orientation course to meet the needs of students and improve student success and retention. While a bureaucratic approach is not effective in the classroom, this approach works well for a course like orientation.
My problem with practice is related to how higher education institutions in the US can effectively use WeChat, which is a popular social marketing media app in China, as marketing and communication tool for recruiting international students from China. Higher education institutions in the U.S. has experienced a flattening trend in overall international student enrollment and specifically a decline in new international student enrollment. Institutions and higher education professionals are concerned about the trend because of the potential benefits that international students bring with them, including their impact on diversity and the academic growth in the classroom, as well as the significant financial contribution through their tuition and living cost. So many colleges and universities these days have been looking for innovative and strategic ways to boost international student enrollment. My selected innovation is, as mentioned, WeChat, which is a super app in China with almost 900 million registered users. It has a lot of functions available as far as social media marketing goes. My interest of the action research is actually to potentially answer the question of how higher education institutions can actually effectively use WeChat as a marketing and communication tool for recruitment purposes. Specifically to look at the content or the messages that students are interested in, the format that's most effective, and the timing of messages and when we should send those messages. And also as the impact of WeChat marketing on international student recruitment, so both the positive and the negative effects of it. Although the problem practice is not linked directly to teacher investment or school systems, what I have learned from the reading that can be applied to the problem practice is the professional and democratic approach that can lead to change. To start with, one of the methods to improve the current status of international student enrollment is to enhance the professionalism in the current admissions and marketing practitioners. So hiring the right person for the job, comprehensive training at the beginning of the job, and the continuous professional growth can make sure the quality of work is up to the industry standard and also satisfy students' needs. So this could be as far as the accuracy of the information we provide to the students, the sales technique, and the attractiveness of the marketing materials, and so on. In addition, the new marketing strategy targeting international students should be a collaborative effort from all stakeholders involved, not like an entirely top-down approach. For example, admissions representatives are the one who has direct interaction with the students, so they probably can offer the most up-to-date feedback of what students are looking for. And also, we should consider students and parents' opinion because essentially they are the customers. So basically, to improve current trend of international students through social media marketing, we definitely need more professionalism in the practitioners that works with international students, and also the collaborative efforts from all stakeholders that's involved.
Helen's problem of practice centers around parents' involvement, or lack of, in their children's individual educational plans, or IEPs. Students often take a passive observer role, which may affect a student's progress and success in school. To influence change, parents will become empowered by becoming informed about the IEP process and their rights. Additionally, open and positive communication between parents and teachers is needed. Helen's innovation includes developing and organizing a support group with educational material at the school to provide training and support to both parents and teachers. This innovation includes training teachers on effective communication, creating an easy to read brochure to explain the IEP meeting and process, utilizing IEP meeting agendas that will be shared with parents, and also using a checklist for teachers to improve collaboration with parents. Helen's problem of practice and innovation is a blend of democratic and the professional approach. The collaboration between parents, teachers, students, and school to create a more engaging and responsive IEP meeting fits nicely in the democratic approach. This is a very inclusive approach to improve education through collaboration. This approach allows for communication that is open and creates a more responsive school processes and procedures to improve student success. The professional development of teachers and school employees geared towards improving communication with students and parents is a professional approach. The development of a checklist for teachers to improve collaboration with parents also focuses on improving professional knowledge of best practices. Through these innovations, teachers will strengthen their communication and instructional practices. These also create a sense of accountability to peers and parents because all teachers will be trained on effective communication and all will use the checklist. Utilizing both approaches strengthens the likelihood of creating a successful innovation. Linda Darling Hammond, who wrote our chapter, also wrote the article Keeping Good Teachers: Why It Matters and What Leaders Can Do. Three key factors that influence why a teacher leaves include low salaries, working conditions, and lack of teacher preparation and support. Salaries, we all know that teachers are less compensated for their work compared to members of other fields. It's actually 15 to 40% less than individuals with college degrees who enter other fields. This is a significant challenge in keeping qualified teachers, whether it is in the K-12 world or in higher education, because individuals are able to make a lot more money in other fields. Not only does salary matter, working conditions matter. Often teachers face outdated classrooms, lack of material, outdated material, lack of computers or outdated computers, large class sizes, just a poor working environment, structurally, or even a toxic environment based on the individuals that are working there. And for some instructors and teachers, working year round is not something that they really want to do. In order to take in and be successful, teachers who are not prepared and who are lacking support are often the first ones to take and quit. Almost 30% of new teachers who didn't complete student teaching left within the first 5 years of entering the field, compared to 15% who had that student teaching experience. The percent increases significantly for uncertified teachers. So These are all factors of when teachers are leaving, it greatly impacts our education of our K-12 individuals. They tend to perform less successfully on standardized tests, lower test scores. We are seeing a large quantity of students, at least in the state of Nebraska, who have graduated from high school but are not college ready. And this doesn't only impact community colleges, it's also impacting the four-year schools. So in order to be more competitive and to raise our educational attainment and our employability of our students who are going through the K-12 system, whether they're entering the workforce after graduation or going on to a four-year school or a two-year school, we really need to make sure that they're receiving the best education. And a student's education is greatly impacted by the quality of instruction that they receive. And so if we have teachers who are leaving the profession at a high rate, and there's a lot of turnover or substitute teaching or having uncertified teachers teaching until they're able to find somebody who's certified, it really impacts the student's educational experience, which is very reflective in our students' success after they leave high school. And some of the things that school leaders can do to counter this is obviously, creating a more competitive salary. We've seen numerous states where teachers have gone on strike to take in and draw attention and to improve their salaries, because it's really hard to be a great teacher when you're wondering whether or not you're going to be able to pay your mortgage or save enough for retirement and to do all of those different things. So competitive salaries is definitely one of the top things that schools can do to increase the likelihood that a teacher will stay with them and in the profession. The next one is to improve the working conditions. Whether it's the class size, the teaching loads, the availability of materials, just the structure of the building. I know in some of the recent strikes that we've seen, teachers weren't asking for incredibly outlandish things. They were looking for and asking for new chairs or desks or that the windows be fixed. Their ability to teach was definitely impacted by the quality of their facilities. And when we don't feel like we're valued and we're working and it's really easy to feel like we're not valued when we're working in facilities that are dilapidated or we don't have enough seats for our students. All those can impact whether or not a teacher stays. And so, they're not that's a very simplistic thing that schools can do, is to address those needs. And so the schools that are making sure that they're staying up to date and they are making sure that the teachers have great workspaces and that students have new materials, that all leads to teachers' likelihood of staying and also is reflected in student success. One of the other things that schools can do in ensuring that the teachers that they hire stay is to obviously hire teachers who are better prepared and who are more experienced. The reality is that hiring these individuals might require a higher salary, but if they're less likely to leave, that will reduce the future hiring costs. It will reduce the cost of having to cover classes when instructors or teachers are not there. And overall, it'll take and reduce the chance of student failure and should result ultimately in higher success for our students as they're graduating from the K-12 world, either entering the workforce or going into higher education. Another thing that schools can do to help teachers be prepared is to provide a mentoring program for all beginning teachers and ongoing learning and leadership challenges and opportunities for veterans teachers, so that way they're able to continue to stay up to date on best practices and continue to be supported as they're going through challenges in the classroom. They may take and learn in professional development how to take and counter some of those things on their own, or to take and reach out to their school leadership in order to address the challenges so they're supported and mentored through some of those challenges and difficulties. While this article focused on K-12, it's very applicable to all organizations, especially higher education, and why employees stop working in higher education or decide not to stay at the current institution but to go to another one. If we take it one step farther and we change salaries to cost of tuition, the same article can be used to understand why students may decide to change institutions or stop attending college altogether. So this article, really when we get out of the fact that it's focused on K-12, it is super applicable to all of our jobs and all of our problem and practices that we're looking at. So I really hope that you enjoyed this brief article summary, and I hope you enjoyed our chapter review. Thank you.